子稚嫩的脸庞，为母亲眼中的期望。兄弟们，站起来反抗！英雄故事必被后代传唱。我们是勇士的民族，不屈的血在身上流淌，神圣的母语放声高喊，我们的鼻子大呀！哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，旗帜在马背上，雄鹰矗立在我肩膀，一生在战场，是我的荣耀。哎呦，哎呦，哎呦，伟大的长城边，我的魂与你同在，我们是的草原真正的主人。哎呦，哎呦，哎，我们是的草原真正的主人。哎呦，哎呦，哎呦，我们的鼻子大呀！
好，等一下，我得看看我。
Hi. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our bridge show from Himalaya, Canada. And today, well, I have Mr. Sun as my co-host. We're going to have about an hour to share our topic. Today, we'll talk about, well, will the CCP control the world? And thank you. And Mr. Sun, can you say hi to our audience, please?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good morning for those tuning in from China. And well, we don't know CCP control the world, and they try for sure. And let's hear what Joseph will present today, whether they control the world or not. Joseph, back to you. Just you and me now today.
All right. Thank you. Well, you know, why I put such an interesting topic there is because in Canada and a lot of Western free world, we are seeing more and more CCP signs and CCP's controlling. And like, because, you know, we always talk about Canada and lots of people even, you know, if you think about how China or the CCP government is influencing and infiltrating the Western world and the Western society. And even today, Canada is somewhat named China in a sense. Because last time when we were on the street for, you know, talking about you know, how CCP and how the virus and how the CCP virus and the vaccines are affecting the, so, you know, the Chinese, I mean, not just the Chinese community, is all the communities in Canada. I already noticed that this is a huge influence because just recently, we already seen that, we have seen that in Canada, in like even Ontario, alone, you will say, okay, we need like a vaccine passport. And also in Quebec City or even the Quebec province itself, okay, you have to have a passport. I mean, you have to show that you are fully vaccinated. Then you are free to go and to travel around. Well, why is that? It's, you know, on the surface, they will say recently, they say, okay, well, those who are affected, or, you know, recently the new strains, or they call it Delta, and they will always complain, okay, those who are not vaccinated, because of that, and there is more and more people attracting the virus or they have infections. However, the actual status already shown in some of the news, not only in Canada, also in America. And they say, well, okay, those who are fully vaccinated are actually the people who got the most serious issue in lots of hospitals and lots of, you will see even in the emergency rooms, that was, a lot of confusions going on. Mainstream media is saying one thing, and the government is saying one thing, but who is telling the truth? Whichever status is the fact, that is something confusing people. And I have misinformation. One thing I would like to point out is this is so crazy that one of my very close friends, she agreed like several weeks ago that I talked with her a lot, and she finally said, yeah, I think, virus is dangerous. I mean, or even the vaccine is not safe. So she finally agreed, okay, I'm not going to take a shot at all. But like just about less than a week ago, she told me she had her first jab. I asked her why. I told you it's not safe. And, this is like experimental vaccine. Why you take the jab? And she said, I heard a lot of rumors, a lot of sayings, all the media is saying, if you take the jab, you take the vaccine, you have a less tendency that you got attracted, particularly the new strains. They call it Delta strains. Or in Canada, they even call it Delta Plus. This is ridiculous, but you know what? The rumor, the whole mainstream is going on like that people's mind or people's choice, real information is suppressed. We all know as the whistleblowers that the G News or GTV, and even we have the new Getter there. This is the only place that we find the real information there. And lots of other information, I don't know who, like some of the Indian stations or some of the smaller websites is having that. No, majority of the information are from the CCP. So that's why I'm choosing this title called, Will the CCP Finally Control the World? So what's next? And I would like to hear Mr. Sung's opinion and your viewpoint towards this question. Like, will the CCP control the world next? What your thought? Mr. Sung.
Well, no one can predict the future, but I can, just speculate based on the past. They do very good job so far to infiltrate Western world, from American to Canada to Europe to French, Italy, everywhere, and to Australia, New Zealand, Japan, every place, because the Western world choose to working with the communists, and they adopt this Kissingerism, right, for a long time, and we have the living with, and that's a consequence. And they are very successful in the past, but at the end it's about evil and good, and the people from West and from inside, they realize what the CCP is standing for is evil, control, fake, steal. All those is not the human wanted, and that's against the human nature. And no, I don't think they will control the world. But the world will struggling one way to another, and because we choose to working with them for a long time, and financially, every part of society in the infiltrate in the Western world. And so they were successful because they were successful inside the China, right? And so they take that system applied to outside. And now we have the basically this engagement or disallocated, whatever they called it, right? And that take a while from manufacturer to financial to every part, and sometimes like it's a marriage, right? This is take a long time. It's really bad, bloody, divorce. And in the meantime, like I use the divorce like an example because there's a casualty, and there's the children, everybody is suffering one way to another, and this divorce will bring a lot of damage to the society and every part of our life. So, but at the end, I don't think they will control the world. And what do you think? Back to you, Joseph. What do you think?
Well,
Financially.
That's interesting, because we've been talking about such questions like China has been trying to control the whole world for a long time. I think everything starts when they get a seat on the United Nations. So China feel that, is there actually the CCP's agenda? Long time, as early as 1970s, or maybe at the time when they actually seek the seats to control our founding of the People's Republic of China, Mao's agenda is already there. He, on the surface, he was saying, okay, we will never become the superpower and controlling the world. And Deng Xiaoping said the same thing in the United Nations, in the World Conference or whatever is there. He always show, Chinese people or the Chinese national, they will never invade other countries. We will, like they say, never like having like imperialism or controlling it or whatever. So this is their square line. They just stare at people. They dare stare at the whole world, but secretly, they use a term, I think that was an interesting term by Jiang Zemin called, in Chinese, called Tao Guang Yang Hui. But I would put that briefly in Chinese as actually just hide in a secret forest or secret place and actually chewing or grinding their teeth to make sure they're powerful enough. The CCP was waiting there to make sure they will, just on the surface, they hide themselves and disguise their power, disguise their, intention of controlling the world. But at the same time, they are grinding their teeth to make it sharp enough so that they could gradually and eventually bite. But they bite. How did they bite? This is the thing. They call it, warfare with biochemical weapons, with this virus, and then with this, infiltration to the world, and including we talk about their, architectural art project, because they secretly delivers their offsprings, or we call it a bastard or something. They secretly bribe into their offsprings and send them all over the world. And gradually, even they become American citizens, European citizens, or Canadian citizens, right?
Joseph, yeah. Stop it, leave there. I want
Sure.
I want you to explain a little bit what is architecture, the plan. For those listeners have no clue what I really mean. Can you just put some simple word to tell the audience what is the architecture plan for those Westerners have no idea? Yeah,
well, I want just to show you one thing. It's called the what is her exact name? Xiao. That's in the front, or Peng, right?
Xiao.
Peng Xiao or Xiao Peng, right? It doesn't matter because it's written as Xiao Peng, right? Maybe his first name is Xiao, right? I mean, last name is Xiao. And so we know for a fact that he's a legitimate son of the Chinese, bureau. I mean, what I call the deputy bureau or executive bureau of the party member, CCP Central Committee. And there's, we know the 7 of them, but one of them, what is actually, gave birth to this illegitimate son and sent it over to the United States to have the best education. And it gradually gave him the power of AI control in Saudi Arabia. And we know that company is now controlling majority of the vaccine produced all over the world, including Pfizer, including Moderna. If you think about the Chinese, there is a Chinese vaccine producer called Sinotech, right? And the same thing. So this is just one of the examples. There are way more of them. They have, what they do is they put their germs or sperm, and then they mix up either in the tube, or they do it illegally, anything secretly, and they have their offsprings, and then they make their genes or their next generations. This has been years. Some people already have their grandkids around the world. Some may be bribed with the local Westerners, and they look, even their appearance, if you look at them, they might look not like a Chinese at all, but who knows? Because they have the secret map. They call it secret offspring groups that is developed, or, the Chinese are using their big money to help them grow, to help them have the best education in the world. Some might get, very powerfully politically controlled or famous in the local government, in the local places all around the world. So that's one of their projects. They have their kids or grandkids become powerful politically. We even talk about this, something happened to the Marxism or the communism idea. Like even we talk about like even Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Canada, right? So he probably is the illegitimate son of someone else. And we talk about Cuba.
So Joseph, I think you are. Thank you for all that explanation. I think if you can explain in bigger scale, and I will give you some clues so you know. And after Tiananmen Square for the 89 June 4th.
Yeah.
And then decide, and all those key people inside China, right? So those officials, they need one guy, whether it's a man or lady from each family, control each military branch, every part of the country. But what we are talking about, the architecture, plan, and so, why you think this, when they starting this project, they send those son, and and not one son, not the son probably recognize the son, and secret son and daughter to Western world, and they sometimes married with Westerner, and that's part of why we call architecture plan. What is the plan that we call? I think Sherry joined in with us. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Sherry, are you there? But anyway, the whole thing is the Westerner probably don't understand this way, right? So we want you explain to them what is plan look like, why you think this is important to the CCP. We talk from the unconventional war, and from their perspective, why they don't fight with the Western with the missile with a tank and ship, and they decide to fire unconventional war. We know they do the disinformation. We know they deal with virus, but they also do a cyber attack, and they steal and they fake. We know that. But why you think this strategy work well for them? What the reason you think it will work?
Well, yeah, if you think about it, like Westerners in the Western society, they believe in Jesus Christ or they believe in God. Anyway, they have a religious belief, whoever they think, but they believe in there is a superpower, is someone or some kind of form of God, right? Or the one mighty God that actually create the world and control the whole world. So people are followers and people have the religious belief. Well, in the same time, in the Western culture, we know people always think about, when something had some misbehavior, they'll say, okay, well, let's say he's innocent first, and then gradually prove that he's guilty or illegal, right? But this is the other way around. When Chinese Communist Party is planning such secret project all over the world, they have their offsprings planted everywhere. People think they are a good guy. And
Joseph,
right?
Joseph,
Yeah.
hold on. Just
Uh-huh.
hold on your thought.
Sure.
Remember Mao talking about how they control the country.
Mm-hmm.
Who they trust. They want to trust people sleep the same woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do the same thing. So this is a part that sometimes they share the same lady, same waitress. So before I on you going on, and Sherry, you want to say hi? You want to comment? Sherry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry for the late. I just mixed up the time with the Monday show.
So what our topic right now is about, well, CCP control the world, but now we especially talking about the architecture, the secret, the sun infiltrated in the Western world. And I asked Joseph to explain why the CCP use, those blood, the sex control the world. What do you think? How successful the architectural plan? Can you, use your word to
architectural art project.
The architectural art plan. We talked about this in this show before. Would you want to, explain to the audience, to the Westerner, why this strategy CCP use? Why you think it's successful? What do you think about it, Sherry?
Yeah, I think they really they did it in a really good way. They succeeded. They really succeeded. If without Mr. Guo and the whistleblower movement, we will never know it. It's called architectural art projects, right? That folder stays in, I don't know, Xi Jinping's computer, right? Who will, relate that to their big empire, right? Their kids, their families, their illegitimate kids, right? The big company G42 we were talking about, we hear many stories from GTV, that the big guy behind is Peng Xiao or Mr. P, something like that, is the illegitimate son of Han Zheng, right? The Han Zheng is a high rank official.
Well, I know, Sherry, I know you want illegitimate. We just use private. Private is, so private the son. And, Han Zheng we talking about, but remember Xi, remember Wang Qishan, right? I just mentioned that also because we expose Wang Qishan have, do you remember the name? This in Australia, they play. Yeah, they played, and there's one in Canada. Wang Xin is in Canada, and also he graduated from University of Montreal, right? And I think he working with Blackstone, whatever it is. But what do you remember about Xi Jinping's private son and in here? And that is we haven't really, officially Liu Chengjie. We haven't officially, put on the document yet. Remember that, Liu Chengjie?
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Guo ever revealed that. His father is we don't know, right? At least I don't know. I didn't know. But well, we can have a guess, right?
We're not talking about, we're not actually talking about all those, secret things. Because, you can have, a mistress and have a, private or secret kids, or it doesn't matter. For average people, it's okay. But if you think it in a large picture, they have maybe thousands of them, or one guy might have like 100 or 200 or 300 like offsprings, that they were actually producing such kind of, well, we could say like a bastards, or just whatever ways we use term we use. But, they have such a plan, secretly grow them up in a Western culture, Western society, and let them have the best resource and the best education they have. And then they could gradually merge into the Western culture. And that was very evil because nobody find out, nobody knows. You don't know who they are. And all of a sudden, they are controlling a local government, maybe a county, maybe a province, even maybe a country, if you think about it, right? Who knows? So that's why I'm thinking like Canada, like France, right now, the controller of that country might be the offspring of some of the CCP. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying they are exactly whose son or whose illegitimate son, but I know ideologically they are controlling. And one more thing I want to point out, like maybe after Tony showed the first video about Meng Wanzhou. So think about why Meng Wanzhou had so many passports, and he's, she's actually having a 1 point, like maybe 100 million worth of a big mansion there, and stayed in Vancouver. And after she caught up there, and she can spend a huge bond money to make herself safe now, and now it's becoming a kind of Chinese government and the Canadian government is fighting about it. Like they use Meng Wanzhou. You have to release Meng Wanzhou without sending him to U.S. And now you think about it, then if you don't do that, then I'm going to kill some of your own. Well, they say like this is your espionage. We know that 2 Michaels in China. And we know there are somebody who they give him the kind of, they say, oh, you're a drug dealer. Now they say there is a different thing. They could just flip the thing like, okay, you were killed the next week or whatever. So they can do anything to any official, we call it citizenship, like a Canadian. Not to mention about the Hong Kong, there's a special Hong Kong rule of Hong Kong law or something like, okay, if you say anything against CCP, or if you talk about anything like not in line with the CCP rule or CCP law, then you're going to be killed. Whenever you jump onto a Hong Kong plane or go to Hong Kong. So that's their control, the way they control not only their own people inside China, but they are at the same time controlling the world economy and the world politics, even including Canada. So, well, maybe Tony, you can just roll out the very first video there about this. This is from the National. Yes, please. About why Crown begins formally argue this one. You got it? Very first one, please. Tony. And then we'll discuss.
So, okay, let's Tony try to
Meng
find
Wanzhou
out.
arrived at court today to hear the Crown's arguments in favor of extradition.
Today, the court connects the dots between evidence and law and argument.
Meng was arrested at Vancouver's airport in December 2018. She spent a week behind bars before being released on $10 million bail. Living under partial house arrest in a $14 million home, Meng has a curfew and is being tracked by a GPS ankle monitor and security guards. Her legal team maintains the arrest violated her rights and that she was used as a political pawn by then-President Donald Trump. But today, before a judge, the Crown argued this process has been fair and that there is evidence of fraud.
It's not a trial. The bar for extradition is very low.
The U.S. extradition request has worsened relations between Canada and China, which has repeatedly called for Meng's release. When Joe Biden was elected president, there was hope he would retract the extradition request, but he hasn't.
Well, I think that the Americans are, well, clearly they're not keen to just drop it. Having invested a fair effort into preparing the case.
Adding to the complexity, China's espionage cases against Canadians Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig.
We want our two Michaels back. It might be possible through negotiations between Washington and China to work out some kind of compromise arrangement, a plea deal perhaps.
Meng's lawyers will begin their submissions on Friday. After that, the judge will either order her discharge or recommend that she be extradited to the United States to face trial. But that decision could still take months, and it ultimately rests in the hands of Canada's Justice Minister. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Vancouver.
Okay, thank you for Tony. Sherry, are you there? What do you take on this? What are your comments about this Meng Wanzhou's case? You know, I have my take. You know, I can say, Sherry, let you take it first.
Yes, this story has been already 3 years, right? And even though we can see from the clip, even though Meng Wanzhou has an ankle monitor, right? But she's still living in that fancy mansion, and she can go out, she can go to dine out, and she has her almost, freedom, well, to a certain degree. But on the contrary, CCP, right after when she was arrested, when she was stopped at a border in Canada, and CCP, they arrested 2 Canadian journalists, right? And they are in prison. They are having a miserable life. So that's a very obvious, the very, very, very big contrast in terms of how CCP is treating the people, right? Yeah, I think I just hope Canada can have a fair judgment on this case, and we just wait and see, because he is really a crucial person that related to the PLA, the military of CCP. And also they're controlled this tycoon big tech companies, right? So that is Huawei.
Okay, so let me give some question for Joseph thinking. So the Canadian news always related to case. This is a play in hand of CCP. In CCP, initially when Meng Wanzhou was detained, it just should be a separate events, right? And so remember, Canada, we have this law, we follow the procedure. Whatever he have crime or not a crime, they will go through the process. But then when CCP arrest the 2 Michaels, and they basically become a bargain, and that's when we play this connected like this report, really play in the hand of CCP. That's what they want. They want they want to connect each other. But in reality, they shouldn't, because whatever the micro have crime, they should try in China. If there is crime, they should be, do the process. But then, we already know the whole due process in China, the law is really arbitrary. It's never have a fair trial system. So whatever comes out there is meaningless. So you cannot use that the case in there to bargain on what here in happening in Canada. But the media play into that into a CCP hand. But we don't know this media is neutral or like fake news, CNN, all the other one, we don't know they are part of the game. There's a lot of disinformation buried in Western world. We know the Fox News, we know all those media is not impartial. So they still play in hand of the CCP. At least for the people, for the Chinese people, common people, they watching this, they think we have an upper hand. Now you don't release my people, I'll play hard on you. And some people really like it inside China, right? So we should dislocate this one. So, but there's another part. This, to be proved. Meng Wanzhou maybe want to rest here. Remember, you mentioned the 7 passport. Why you are, totally control the people inside China? So probably your country, you do whatever you want. Why you need 7 passport? What's the reason? And if you're so proud, so control everything, you have everything, you just need 1 passport, and that's a China Communist Party passport. You can go everywhere, right? Why you need a 7 passport from Hong Kong? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Do you really trust your country, trust your party, and go everywhere? And that's saying another thing. Probably he want to be rested here because they're treating humanely in Canada. In China, probably all disappeared. But he probably want to be rested here. But
Well, that's a very interesting point of view.
Joseph.
As a matter of fact, but I want why I choose this short video to talk about will the CCP control the world? Because they wanted to. But think about, besides those architectural arts, their offsprings like that. Meng Wanzhou is another example. Maybe Mr. Sun is right. She doesn't want to go back to China. That's why she go around from, just from Vancouver on the way to Mexico or whatever, wherever. She's going there for business, or she's going there for something of her own agenda. Who knows? But talking back about, think about the real thing. It's a huge issue here. Is Canadian government has nothing to control about that. How, when they arrested the 2 Michaels in China, and maybe they want to sentence him to one of them to death or whatever penalties they have, like Sherry just mentioned, they live in a cell they have it like on human conditions, probably, who knows. But Meng is just on bonds and then stay in her own luxurious house. That's one of the contradictions. You see, CCP is, in a sense, is superior in such a case. But come back to Canadian government or the Canada side, you think about the rule of law. Here, you have to go through all this tedious and long court process. You either have to be judged, have to be providing the evidence, and everything is decided until finally the judge or the jury or the grand jury make the final decision. Because this is somewhat connected with the US. And they even talk about former President Donald Trump. And CCP is always playing the card. They try one thing and do the other way. And all they want is that, okay, I can get control of it. The CCP say, okay, I can manipulate your, the media, the attitude, and at the same time, they always say, if I have the money, CCP had always said that, if I have the money, then the words goes like, if money can buy it, that's not an issue. This is not going to be a problem. So it doesn't matter. They say, okay, we don't need a rule of law, though on surface that we could say, all right, we still have a law and we are ruling it or whatever. But the fact is, no, but societies like Canada and US and a lot of Western modernized civilized society, they are not like any private person control, like an emperor, like any regime. They have their own rule of law, so things will take a process. Even sentence someone to death would probably take years and years of judgment and of negotiation or whatever testament is going on. But here they want to make the shortcut. CCP is actually thought they already have the idea. They already control the things because, okay, I grab your people. If you don't do that, I'm going to do this. I'm going to kill them or whatever. So the way they do is like a band of gangsters or hooligans that they are trying to rule or to organize their whole party or the whole regime. But, I don't want to talk about which one is, obviously people know that Western way is superior, is more humane, but let's think about coming back with what we see so far. Will the CCP control it? What is the next step? And you think about, will they actually, the judge finally exile Meng Wanzhou to US, or they trade it finally back for some other slave, like to Michaels or whoever there in China. Okay, if you release Meng without executing her, to just exile her to US, and then I'm going to release someone. But we know CCP is always a lie. But let's come back to the question. Will the CCP control it, this whole thing, in the end? What your thoughts, Mr. Sun?
Okay, my thinking, no, they not control it. But the Canadian system is independent from the the Trudeau government. So if Trudeau, probably he will do it, But the system is independent. So the independent, basically, you can have both. If you only have two results, can go either way, right? But either way, have to go through due process. Now, from what I read, from the relationship with the Iran, those company, I can see there is a crime, right? But again, I'm not a judge, and it's a judge will make a decision. We respect the judge. That's why we choose, the system. He decided which way to want to go and go the due process. But politically, I don't think Canada will bend over because we have the independent judicial system. And I want to go back to Sherry. What do you think, Sherry?
Okay. I think why after several years, Meng Wanzhou's story came to to our attention again, and Canadian lawyers and attorneys, they are doing further investigations on her. I think our movement of taking down CCP is finally come to a stage that every country or every organization, they need to choose choose a side to stand. You either collaborate with CCP or you either take down CCP, right? So Canada, even though Prime Minister sometimes he make us disappointed, but as a Five Eye nation, Canada still they need to, together with the older free world and United States, to hold the CCP accountable. Because looking at the world, like the pandemic, all the societal crisis, economic crisis that CCP brought, he had no way. Nobody just can still collude with CCP, right? So they need to either fight together with the United States, or they will just, if they still collaborate with CCP, because they will lose the other justice, fairness, and it will be a nightmare. So and Meng Wanzhou was alleged for her dishonesty, right? And because Huawei or its subsidiary company violated U.S. economic sanctions against Iran, right? And because of her dishonesty, he had this kind of allegation. And we know honesty and trust it's the very important, crucial thing in free world. So I hope this extradition of her to the United States will eventually land on something. That
okay.
What I hope. And I somehow agree with Mr. Sun that maybe she doesn't want to go back to CCP country, and there is only one thing is awaiting for her, that is to make her disappear, maybe.
Let me adding something here. Sorry. So in terms of you comment about Canada government, what I thinking is Canada as of the government have all the different branches, have a different MP, different people. So what is reflecting is not that we don't give that credit to Justin, right? And there's some other branch of Canada will like us, they will realize, what they're Justin doing basically not what the Canadian want. At least some, I'm not sure 100 what the percentage of people, 20%, 40, 60%, and they have an agreement on the genocide, right? So so it's not like, you remember, we have to think about different, like a U.S. government, right? Some of the branches, they always still colluded with CCP. Because we talk about the son, the family, unless you take their son off, they're still in here, in there. They are in the some of the branches, and there's some in the company. They control the major share. So we cannot take that out. Those people still collude with CCP, but there's enough other people just like us, right? There's not. They realize, no, we can do better without collude with them. In fact,
I'm very happy to hear your point of view. Is that because the average people is now waking up, right? So it's not those people like elites who are controlling, right? So in this society, in the Western world now, because the whistleblower movement, and also because so many, 老百姓, we call it the average people in the Western society is now starting to wake up. if you think about why we talk about the cyber attack before, like, Mr. Mike Lindell, he had this symposium in South Dakota for a few days there, right? And because every people is already finding it, they already find out how CCP is working with different projects and different angles to mess up the Western society. Basically, one word: freedom. People felt or feel from their heart their freedom is taken away. So before we go, maybe we'll have another very short video about Cuomo there in New York City, that he finally gave up. You remember, a few days ago he said, "I'm not going to quit, even I'm a bastard or whatever. I did something wrong or whatever." But finally he quit. Why? It's because of the average people. Let's just play that short video first and have a brief talk after that. Okay, Tony, please, can you just roll out the second video?
It will be effective in 14 days.
A reluctant resignation from one of the most prominent politicians in the U.S. Governor Andrew Cuomo spent mere seconds stepping down, using the rest of his 20-minute public statement to deny sexual harassment allegations against him and defend his record.
In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn. I take full responsibility for my actions.
Governor Andrew Cuomo.
It's been more than a week since a report by the Attorney General accused Cuomo of sexually harassing 11 women, including a former staffer.
He went to go kiss me on the cheek. He quickly turned his head and he kissed me on the lips. What he did to me was a crime.
As chairperson of
now, New York State will have its first female governor, Kathy Hochul, Cuomo's second in command.
Cuomo's going down.
Once praised for his handling of the pandemic that hit New York City hard last year, in Times Square today, little sympathy.
Because he was there for so long, I guess he always felt like he couldn't do nothing wrong.
I did not mean any sexual connotation. I did not mean any intimacy by it.
Now one of the highest profile falls in the Me Too era, the case against Cuomo has added fresh fuel to a conversation sparked by the movement.
This is no longer okay to grab women, to touch them in any part of their body. It's not okay in the workplace. It's not okay outside of the workplace.
Some predict the governor's troubles are only beginning. One of his accusers has already filed a criminal complaint against him, launching a police investigation. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Wow. So, Mr. Sun, why you laugh? Okay.
Well, you know, it is. This is a typical. I wouldn't say all the Democrats look like. He basically saying, "Oh, my understanding is this way. Now your line change. You know, is you change the definition." And no, I didn't realize you changed the definition. But remember, you know, you have so many people accuse you, but the fundamental right is you got permission, whether you touch or kiss to the lady, a woman, whatever on the other side. You have to respect that, right? So anytime you don't respect that, don't ask permission, you know, you can have sex if you have permission, right? This is all about permission, about their right to be recognized first, right? And they agree. That's a different story. So but he playing the game, the word game, and you know the definition, the line drawn, redraw the line. I'm not saying the President Biden, they do the same thing. But anyway, that.
You know, right. You know how funny it is. You think about how, when I learned about such kind of rules and when I was, in medical field practice, and it was interesting about harassment to women. And, a girl who's 13 years older or 13 years older, if she agrees, then it's not rape at all, right? You can do sex with a 13-year-old girl if she agreed to that. But it's a different story. But we'll talk about like he's saying you draw a different line. You secretly moved the rule of law or whatever standard is there. This was a funny excuse he's actually using. But finally, we want to come back to term about like this is the rule of law is functioning, right? Even though we know that this guy, Cuomo, controlled the the New York State for more than 8 years or 9 years already, right? But now he finally stepped down. It's because the free word or people are realizing that or are, awakening, right? So Sherry, and what's your thought about this short video? And how do you think if CCP government or CCP officials, or even we remember there is a provincial leader, I don't remember, is Henan or Hebei, or a city leader, mayor, then when he got a traffic accident there, that he died, and then all of a sudden there are 3 or 5 legitimate, legally married wives show up. So how do you compare that? Sherry, please.
Yeah. Just now my speaker of my computer has something wrong, so I didn't hear the audio of the clip. I just saw the picture, so I didn't know why Mr. Sun was laughing there. But to your question, somehow if it's related to that, yeah, I mean, to Chinese people. Well, with CCP's brainwashing, we trend to think that in Western country, in free world, they are very crazy about, male and female's relationship, right? We trend to think that way. And because they are free world, they do everything free. They do whatever they want. But actually, that's just different. That's just actually on the contrary. Mm-hmm. That kind of weird thing like Joseph mentioned, there are quite a few wives came out and claimed that, oh, I have to get the compensation from my husband's death, right? Because this all related to their own benefits and money, right? That's we can see this kind of weird thing. Well, in China, maybe it's not so weird. Like people kind of got used to that. This is just because their education, their way of brainwashing, people just got used to that. And what else people are caring about? They're caring about the money, they're caring about the food, and they're caring about the male and female relationship. It's just like I have seen a picture that a pig wearing human's clothes. It's just a beast wearing human's clothes. But now under CCP's control, more and more Chinese people are turning into that way. What I mean is we are not with, people's empathy, care about people, compassionate about people. We don't have that kind of, or mercy, we don't have that kind of way of thinking. We just merely like animals, right? Like Darwin. Darwin is really evil. He said that humans are just advanced animals because people are really just, chase that kind of lifestyle or pattern. They only care about the money, food, and sex, right? That's what animal, they don't care about money. They just need food and to breed for the next generation, right? So this is real. And communist China, communism, they endorsed that theory, the whole theory, right? From Darwin, we are actually advanced animals. So we don't need people to be smart, to be wise, to be, have a lot of knowledge to be able to challenge us. We just want them to be advanced animals. You just need to care about their money and your the relationship with your wife, with your husband, and that's it. So
okay.
This has driven people becoming really more and more weird, which is unbelievable in Canada, United States, in free world, how people can behave in that way. Because here people have beliefs, have real religion. Mm-hmm. And this is what I think Mr. Mousgool is calling for every citizen of new federal state of China. We really need to change that. But this is a long way to go. Okay, yeah. Back to Joseph and Mr. Sam.
Well, Sherish, I know. I think this part of CCP brainwashed us, and believe it or not, we still have some. So, animal doesn't. You see the world in the animal world. You see animals have loving. They like elephant. They take care. The buffalo. They even fighting with the tiger, lion. So animal is not like what the CCP described. It's so bad, so hard. They have their own system. Although they eating other part, right? But CCP, I think, worse than that. They eating the human. We heard about it, and eating all those stuff. So
they're eating their own kids.
Yeah, in our case, we as a CCP, we're going worse than that, and so we kind of defame the animal in a sense for that. The animal, as far as we know, the animal, the ecosystem. They believe they live longer than us. They haven't been this world much longer. And that includes trade in the agricultural stuff. So we have to respect the whole nature and the water, and the plant, the fish, everything. And so when we say we are worse than animals, that means we are superior than animal, right? That's the whole thing, right? And why we think that, right? So in a sense, when we go to back to nature, we respect the God, heaven, whatever it is you call it. We have to respect the nature. That means every life, and that includes the plant life, to respect it. So just to give an example, when we do the planning or residential development in Canada, even the special butterfly, we have to think about how we migrate from one side to another. Just some tree, it's a monarch butterfly. We have to, if we want to build a subdivision, we have to move this tree to other place, and we have to really do a study whether to keep there enough space for them. All the bird, everything. So I want to go back to
that's the real ecosystem we have to think about, because God created the earth and the world, and so everything should be in harmony, right? Yeah, that's the real ecosystem we think about. It's not like the agenda of like the Great Reset or something, but we are talking about illegal or like animal of ruling or without any sense of rule of law, and they are just trying to rule over other people. So enslave the world. That's how CCP is doing. CCP is trying for years to control the world and with their own agenda, with their own plan to control the whole thing and become a dominator or a superpower of the world. But that was their agenda. But now from today, we just, because our time is limited, we just touch up some of the superficial at least, about now we say that average people, 老百姓, the average common people, are actually starting to wake up, starting to realize, particularly in the Western world, that with this promoting all this movement, we call it the whistleblower movement, and the new federal state of China, like all these people, we have this sense, we have this common sense at least that we want to be human being, not animals, not being controlled, not being suppressed like the CCP has been doing for years. And now we see Western average people are waking up. And also some of the big heads, what I'm using, maybe we talk about like the deep state or whoever was there that was superpower who is charging or controlling the world. All of this is now coming to a united stream, is going ahead and starting gradually to guide the world and to go to the freedom. And then, we heard about like wiping out the white, or with all the new vaccines that has been, as Miles Gould put it, right? They have this whole agenda. CCP is trying to control the whole world. But the matter of fact is that now we see a trend with these two short videos we just played. Even Mo Wanzhou's case is somewhat going to a direction that is gradually going, no matter CCP is trying to manipulate it the other way around. And same thing, like we just see the other one, it's the same thing. No matter how Kumo is trying to be, solidarity or trying to be, very elegant, and he says he's controlling the power, but now he had to step down, just like that. So we wish, and I hope with all our effort, CCP could like that, just like a snap, they crash all of a sudden because more and more people are standing up against them. Yeah, because we have running out of time today. Maybe you guys have some final words, and then we'll call it a day. Sherry, can you please go ahead?
Yeah, that's why we say like Miles Gould told us, we need to get rid of the toxicity from Chinese Communist Party. And even though after we taking down the CCP, there are still great amount of residual poison and toxicity that maybe even need more efforts, more dedication, contribution for maybe several generations to achieve that, to get rid of that. So that is a still very long journey for us. So we need to catch up with the whistleblower movement every day, and every day is a great change. So we need to just keep up with it, and we will take down the CCP.
Thank you, Mr. Sun.
Yes, in the 1830s in Europe, they call Renaissance, right? Renaissance. So now we have to revise in the whole Chinese culture and go back to the true the good part of Chinese culture, right? And this 100 years totally ruined. Maybe 200 years longer, right? If you count the people before CCP, right? We can't really go back and big time. And so I totally agree with, we need re-cleansing ourselves from our mind, from our air, from the water, from the land, everything. We have to redo it. And it really takes time. The most important is the people, is the thought. You got to have this free word, a free will to and to freedom, to trust, like Western world, trust there's nature, there's the God, there's a control, we're not you and me only working, only living like 100 years can control the world. That's a CCP bring us for a long time. We need to change that. It is the nature have a law, have the so many years. We have to respect the nature, respect the ecosystem, not to take all those money, take the benefit, rob it from here. And that's we want to take the message to the listener. We want you and also join the show. You can be a speaker. If you want we also need an engineer. We need all kinds of people to contribute to rebuild the China.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because once everybody, the average 老百姓 is waking up, this power, this trend will never be reversed. You know, it just take you or the very you, anyone who is willing to stand out for freedom and join this whistleblower movement, and together we'll make it happen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue next week on Monday and also Thursday with our English show. The name is The Bridge, okay? And thank you so much for watching, and maybe we could play that, you know, the hero again in the end, so that we know, like, average you and me, average people, our viewers and audience, everyone could be a hero, could be a real hero once we stand out against the CCP. Thank you so much for watching.
See you next time. All right, I think we can talk now.
Okay.
So Joseph, you know.
不行，还有声音。你现在没事了吧？
是谁霸占我们的牧场？是谁夺走我们的牛羊？是谁抹掉我们的语言？是谁剥夺我们的信仰？是谁奴役我们的兄弟？是谁蹂躏我们的金元？是谁让我们母亲流泪？是谁掐灭孩子的希望？是中国共产党！战马就是我的生命，雄鹰是我飞翔的翅膀。踏上母鸡缝制的马血，马奶酒让我藐视死亡。跨上马与狂风对话，迎着黄沙我再次出发。无畏的血水战甲滑落，我的伤口是燃烧的太阳。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦。
你想参加这个，如果
是在马背上，生命矗立在我肩膀，牺牲在战场，是我的荣耀。哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，伟大的长城边，我的魂与你同在。我们是的草原跟着的主人，哎呦哎呦哎呦！
对呀，其实也没什么，因为影响随便找一两个就选好一个一两个一两个。
为了孩子稚嫩的脸庞，为母亲眼中的期望，兄弟们站起来反抗！英雄故事必被后代传唱。我们是勇士的民族，过去的血在身上流淌，神圣的母语放声高喊，我们的名字大呀！哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，哦嘿呦，没事，哦嘿呦，行了行了，哦嘿呦，先到这儿。
谢瑞还有什么要补充的？
一直在马背上，生命矗立在我肩膀，牺
太忙了，这孩子也都不愿意都，我找时间做饭给他们都。